What's up, my friends? It's Keith Kelfis with the Untrapped Podcast. We've got Dan Platta. Dan Platta from Blue Sky Services, the home service CFO, and from Blue Skies Recruiting. If you need employees, you need help finding employees in your business, or you need a bookkeeper to help you manage all the books and finances of your business, Dan Platta and his team is the place to go. I had Dan here in the studio in Michigan last year, and we did this like 2-hour long video and podcast special. You got to go back and listen to it. The 12 steps of scaling your business, where Dan just dropped knowledge bombs, bro. I have so many people coming back to me saying that one specific episode we did, and then we did a couple of shoot offs on Instagram, and I posted around and I reposted it. People are telling me that one piece of content changed their business. And bro, hats off to you. Thank you so much. You guys been doing the books for me and my business for like 3 years now. I was really struggling and frustrated because I was obsessed with, success in business and all this stuff, but I didn't understand like cost of goods sold and profit and loss statement and balance sheet and all these different things and and I thought I had to do it all myself. And when I met you and I was referred to you, I mean, we did a deep dive, and there's so much more that you haven't taught me, but you taught me the basis of knowledge. That's a generative knowledge, which that means you gave me tools now that are feeding my business and helping me make better decisions. And I'm just so thankful for you in my life and as a friend. And here back on the podcast now, we're going to talk about some of the purgatories. I'm listening to myself talk right now. I do this so much that I'm like getting good at it. Of business. And then you have these 5 other things. The 5 Platta 5, which is one of the steps of the 12, is we're going to expand that now and talk about 5 more things, bro. What up, Dan Platta?
Dude, it's so fun to be back. I've been looking at this date on my calendar. Like, when do I get to talk to Keith again? Although, like, underwhelming is not the right word. It'd be way more fun to be there in person. That was awesome last year. We'll do that.
Do it again.
We'll do that again sometime.
Quick side note for those of you listening, I have a studio space. I've turned my garage into it. It's dope, dude. It's like,
it's amazing.
But I have this vision, man. Either I'm going to go out on a podcast tour, or I'm going to have, it's a bit of an ask, but to people to come here. But you did it, and look what happened, man. It's like, I just want to take this to the next level. So I'm putting it out right now to the universe. Next level done. All right. So what's up, Dan?
I dig it. The 12 the 12. Otherwise known as a dozen fundamentals that we went over last year was amazing, and I got a lot of great feedback from that too.
If you want to find it, go on YouTube and type in like Keith Kelfis and Dan Platta 12 steps to scale your business, or if you're on the podcast Apple or Spotify, go Keith Kelfis, Dan Platta 12 steps. Look for that, and then you'll find the episode. All right, continue.
And 12 is a lot. Usually you want to do things in 3s, right? Because if you can get it down to 3, that's a super digestible thing. People can remember that. I got it down to 5. I got 5 things that, if you're a business owner, 5 things you have to do. But before I get to, I actually had to rename these things, Keith, because it's more fun if you put your own name in it to have like your thing, right? So I got Platta's 5, and I don't know if I'm cheesy or what would I don't know the right describing word for this, but I just like alliteration. So I've got 5 of them, and that word starts with the letter F, which I learned from my 5-year-old daughter. So I got Platta's 5 financial fundamentals. It's 3 F's in a row, baby.
Platta's 5 financial fundamentals.
Yeah. So I got those. But before we even get to that, you just talking about your background and how it's enabled you to think differently about your business, I think it paints a certain light that I want to expand on a little bit, because I see over and over and over again, none of us, maybe I'm the only one, but in general, I'll round down and say none of us got into our service businesses to do the accounting. Nobody was like, yeah, I'm going to go mow lawns, or I'm going to go run a pressure washer, go climb up this ladder. Yeah, that sounds okay. But mostly because I want to keep track of it all. I want to do my accounting. Nobody ever said that. But whether we like it or not, we all signed up to play a math game. You know, I was actually just speaking at a home cleaning convention late last week, and I said, who in here, would define themselves as like not a math person? You like, oh, I'm not a numbers person, or I don't really like math. And some hands go up and I'm kind of nodding. I'm like, That's cool. I get that. But you signed up to play a math game. When you started your business, you signed up to play a math game because it's not about mowing lawns. It's not about laying down mulch. It's not about cutting trees down. It's not about pressure washing. It's not about cleaning houses. If you're going to grow a business, it's about making good decisions. And every single decision that you make is a math decision. Every single one. Whether it's buying supplies, whether it's investing in a piece of equipment, whether it's employee engagement. All of those are decisions you make to make you more money. And you're looking at how much you spend on it and how much money it makes you to decide if that's a good decision or not. You never make a decision like, I'm just going to do this because I like to, or I know I'm going to lose a bunch of money, but I'm going to do this anyway. Said no business owner ever, because we're not non-for-profit businesses. We are for-profit businesses. So literally every decision we make is designed, at least our intent is always to make the most money. Now it might even be like a charitable donation thing, but the intent behind our charitable donation is to get our name out there and be a good steward and be a good citizen in the spirit and hopes that it grows our business and it pays us back later. Every investment has a different timeline to the return, right? The return isn't always tomorrow. We spend money today. Sometimes we know it's not going to make us money back for a long time, but every decision we make in our business is a monetary one. So whether you like math or not, that's not the point. The point is if you're listening to this, you probably already signed up to play a math game, or you're thinking about signing up to play a math game, and just know that that's what you're signing up for. And that's okay. You don't have to be a math person to sign up to play the game. Just make sure you go find some math people to help you out if that's the case.
Man, you tie everything back to math, bro.
It has to be. It has to be.
So, because that's a higher order. What if you were just kind of drudging through, you'd done work 17 days in a row, you missed the family barbecue, maybe you got a sore throat because you ran yourself down, 4 hours of sleep, 4 nights in a row, and you don't feel like calculating that thing. And you're just like, now you're aware that there's a hole in the bucket and there's money leaking, and you can't even muster up the energy to care because you're just trying to make it through your business and get through the day type. Like, so you could get to that place. Mm-hmm. So how do you take math and account for a higher order in a situation like that, let alone cash flow purgatory, we'll talk about and all that. But
so the reason why we tend to ignore the math is because it's the only person that it helps is us.
Yeah. So I'm not trying to be negative. I just, that popped in my head. Like I'm trying to crush it. Let's make tons of money and but
no, I think that's a great call out though, because we put our heads in the sand, right? We hide from the numbers oftentimes.
That's what I was trying to play.
And we can, because we always put ourselves last. We're small business owners. We're the last ones that get to eat. We constantly put ourselves last. Your employees don't care about your math. They just care about their math, right? Did I get my paycheck? Did I not get my paycheck? Your customers don't care about your math. They just care if you showed up and did what you said you were going to do. So, and as a small business owner, those are the two people we exist to take care of. Our families as well, but hell, sometimes they suffer too because we're so busy with employees and customers. It's like the squeaky wheel, right? Those are our two squeakiest wheels and they get all of our attention. And so it's so easy for us to not do our math and pay attention to what's going on behind the scenes in the business because our employees don't care and our customers don't care. And they're the ones that are bugging us. Whether we know we should care about the math or not, we all kind of deep down know we should care, but we don't love it. And therefore we're going to procrastinate on it. And it's super easy for us to procrastinate on because nobody is asking us for it. Our employees aren't asking to see our numbers and our customers aren't asking to see our numbers. And so we procrastinate and we know that we should know our numbers, but nobody else is asking us for it. Maybe a bank at some point, and then we're like, oh shit, I need my numbers. Or you go to sell and they want your numbers, right? But you should have been obsessing about your numbers the whole time. Just nobody was bugging you. Maybe if you got a coach or if you have a nerdy bookkeeper like me, that's like, Keith, I need this. Keith, send me the document for this. Keith, I need one of these. Sometimes you need a person to bug you for it. But if you don't have that person, I can guarantee it's not going to be your employees and your customers.
That's
okay. the noise you just made made me really hungry for dinner. Like, oh, it sounds like he's eating a good steak or something.
No, actually, yeah, my wife cooked dinner. Anyways, sorry about that. You're probably starving.
My wife has me on she has me on. I make it sound like I have no choice. which let's be honest, you know, maybe I have a choice or not. She did this like Whole Foods diet thing. It's not like specifically Whole Foods, but it's very like calorie specific about where your calories come from. Just a bunch of math. It's a bunch of math that the only person and so like I had to go pick up my kids, and she's like, you got to eat this sandwich, and there's got to be this much lunch meat on it, and there's got to be this many carrots. And I was like, you do the math, just give me it. He's my food bookkeeper. He's my food bookkeeper, because I'm just like, I just don't care as much as you care. Like, I just need calories in my body so I can sit at a computer for most of the day and then get up and go for a run for a little bit of it. But so it just always comes back to math, and our employees don't care and our customers don't care. And so we get lazy is what happens.
Damn, son. Okay. Go to the 5 P's.
The 5 F's.
The 5 F's.
I did. Now it's funny you say that, because a long time ago in a previous life, I had a little fishing show, fishing comedy that me and my buddy did in college. And we did have the 5 P's of fishing. I'm going to give you those, even though they're irrelevant. I believe it was, plan, ploy, prepare. I forget number 4, but number 5 was fish, because we ran. but it was like a silent P, but because it was the 5 P's, like it was gonna be fish with a PH, but we were like, but you need the P because otherwise you wouldn't have the there's one in there. Plan, pro. Anyway, so we got the 5s, the 5 Platta's 5 financial fundamentals, and it goes a little bit like this. And this is actually this will kind of get to helping us get those numbers in order without having to feel like we're spending a bunch of time getting those numbers in order, right? If we have the right structure, it just makes it a lot easier for us to follow the process. So number 1, always for a business owner, separate business and personal. If you do one thing.
Whoa, let me get my notepad for this.
Yeah, write this down. Number 1, always separate business and personal. Separate bank accounts. Don't spend business money out of your personal account. Don't spend personal money out of your business account. The way I say it is that would be acting like your business is a hobby. And if you want your business to be a hobby, have it be a hobby. Then spend personal money and business money interchangeably. But if you want to run this thing like a business and make it profitable, you need good data. And you can't have good data if the inputs suck. And the inputs suck if your business and personal are smashed together. So number 1
real quick, I don't commingle funds, but we just finished up our taxes a while ago now, and the bookkeeper from your agency, who's awesome, who helps with all my books, I made a mistake, and I have my American Express card, which is like allows me to make business purchases because I can pay it off over time and do whatever. Yeah. It's cool. And then he just makes I let him know. Well, for some reason, I was like swiping meals and all different types. Now I have business credit cards. I got personal credit cards, a business and bank payroll. It's all organized. Yeah. But this one American Express card was like, I was just swiping it all year. And I was like, wait, did you know about all that? Because I thought he could just see it crystal clear and was automatically doing it. It's just probably a common thing. So I had to go create a spreadsheet for him and then go back and then talk to my accountant and just at the end of the year, fix it. But the shit took me and him, it took me like three hours, maybe 7 hours of just thinking about the shit. And if I just would have not done that, then it would have saved me 7 hours. So imagine doing that like all across the board, having all your shit commingled.
Yep. You know, life is easier. It and it's not the end of the world to like go back and do that and basically take all those personal expenses and treat them like a distribution, as if you just transferred the money out. But why spend 3 hours of your time? You got a lot of shit to do. Save your 3 hours and keep them separate from the get-go. So that's number 1. I think if you can keep those two things separate, you are on a really good path that like most business owners are not on, right? There's so many people that commingle their funds and then complain that they can't tell how much money their business is making, or even worse is they say my business is making all this money because they're convinced that it is, and they really have no idea. They just see that a bunch of money is coming into their business checking account, and therefore in their minds they're making a bunch of money because they just look at revenue, right? They don't actually look at the profit that's left. They're just looking at the revenue. So number one, separate business and personal. Number two is and I'm a Dave Ramsey fan as a pedestrian consumer. But Dave Ramsey is not talking to business owners. So don't be afraid of debt if you're a business owner. Your debt is your own your business is your own personal stock market. It's okay to use debt in your business because that debt generates a return. Your business is just a stock market with its own ROI. Personally,
so wait, number two is don't be afraid to, what is number two?
Don't be afraid to use debt.
Okay.
Now, I'm not saying go off the rails with debt and I'm not saying go borrow a bunch of money at 20% because you won't make enough money to pay for the darn interest. But the reason why it doesn't make a lot of sense personally to borrow money is your mortgage. Your house doesn't make you any money. I can now I'm not saying don't have a mortgage. I have a mortgage at 3%, and instead of paying that off, I go put more money into my business. So there's that way to look at it. But I don't like to finance my vehicles because my personal vehicle doesn't make me a dime. It just goes down in value. Do not borrow money to buy toys personally and all that stuff, campers and boats and all that. Buy that stuff cash. It doesn't make you any money. The reason it's okay to borrow money when you're in a business is because that shit makes you money. And then you can compare, I'm borrowing money at 5% and I'm going and making an ROI of 20%. Therefore, I'm earning more than this loan cost me, and so I'm leveraging. Essentially, it would be the term you'd use. But even just as simple as like using a credit card in the business, you get a 30-day free loan, you get a whole shitload of points. I just went to Dallas for a convention, and my flights both ways and my hotel were paid for by these credit card points, and it paid for a dime. For all the shit you know you're going to buy anyway, you might as well get a bunch of points and get a free 30-day loan. Now, it's super important to never let it get interest bearing because that 20% interest will absolutely wipe out all the benefits from it. But use that debt to, like, wisely to keep your cash available so you can go grow your business, because growing a business is expensive. I always I think it's funny when dudes are like, I just bought this truck cash, or I just bought this trailer cash. I'm like, well, that sucks. Because now you have no money left to grow your business because that asset doesn't make any money. The only thing that makes your money in your business is the human. The truck and the trailer and everything else that you have doesn't make any money. No customer of yours is going to pay any money for you to bring that over to their house and just leave it sit there. Unless you have a dumpster rental business. Then that thing makes you money. Buy those. But still finance it because it still generates a better return that way. Recruiting and marketing are what make you money, not equipment. And so don't spend all your money on your equipment and leave no money left to invest in things that actually grow your business, because those things are what your cash is needed for. And if you invest in those and you get more customers and more employees, you're going to make way more money than you need to pay back the thing. And that thing will be out working every day with somebody that can go make you money. But if you spend all your cash on a truck and a trailer, there's no money left for you to go grow the business. That means you're a slave to your business. That means you're the only person that can go use that stuff because you don't have any money left to go get more customers or get more employees. So you're going to be stuck riding it all the time. So finance your assets, use your money to go grow your business instead of locking yourself into a job running the thing. So that's number two. Don't be afraid to use debt. Use it wisely. Don't be afraid to use it. Number 3 of Platta's 5 financial fundamentals. Keep your accounting system and your operating system separate, meaning don't sync your QuickBooks and your CRM. So usually we all use a CRM to invoice. Jobber. I think Keith is a jobber dude. We use Service Monster in my business. I've used Service Autopilot. I've used House Call Pro. I've used Customer Factor. I've used Markate, and probably every single one out there. And we have 350 some plus clients that we see their CRMs too. Nothing good unless you're doing 25 million or more. Let me caveat that. If you're doing 25 million or more, Then you need to do accrual basis accounting, which means the IRS cares about when you invoice. And so in QuickBooks, you need to have your invoices, not just your deposits. But otherwise, if you're less than 25 million in revenue, you really just need
why does the IRS want to see it versus cash based?
Once you get over 25 million, they want you to measure your business and your obligations and not by your bank account. Because you may have taken on some huge obligations, whether you've made sales that you haven't completed or haven't collected, or you've accrued services that you've consumed and you haven't paid the bill yet, but you have like an outstanding accounts payable. They want you to measure based on that, which you can argue would be more accurate as to how your business is actually performing. However, it takes a whole shitload of time to do accounting that way. And so the reason why they let small businesses do cash basis accounting is simply because we can't afford to hire like a full-time accounting person on our team that could do all of that. We even try to avoid it for our clients because it's like, you're going to have to pay me 5 times to get damn near the same result as if we just do cash basis. So it's literally just the way I like to say is don't do accounting for the sake of doing accounting. You got plenty of work to do. Yeah, there's no need to make more work to do that. Your customers ain't going to pay you more. There's no need to do more work that nobody's willing to pay you for. So keep your accounting system and your operating system separate. You don't need invoices in QuickBooks or whatever accounting system you use. You just need deposits. That's your cash basis revenue. Don't smash your invoices in there. That's it. That's all I know. Any questions or comments on that one, Keith? Because you're looking at me like, no shit.
Number 3 is don't sync your QuickBook to your CRM.
Yeah.
What's number 4?
Number 4 is you probably want to be set up as an LLC, taxed as an S Corp. And we hit this one on the 12 last time. But an LLC that's taxed as a sole proprietor pays, or just a sole proprietor, pays payroll taxes on every dollar of income the business makes, no matter what. And you probably are already paying the IRS enough. And I don't know anybody out there that's like, I want to pay those guys more. So to reduce the amount of payroll taxes you pay, you declare yourself to be taxed as an S Corp. And the nuance there would be you generally don't want to be an S Corp. You just want to be taxed as an S Corp. So you stay in LLC, you fill out the form 2553. You can go download form 2553 right off the old internets. Get the old PDF of that and fill her out. And that will declare you to be taxed as an S Corp. We're recording this in April, so it's already past the March 15th deadline, but maybe your CPA is a good dude or a good gal and can throw that through to the IRS and get it retroactive. The reason, there's a couple things that happen here, but the reason you want to be taxed as an S Corp is it saves you a whole bunch of money on your payroll taxes, which is good because you're going to like thousands of dollars back in your bank account in general. Again, going back to the assumption that you're running a for-profit business and you want to make more money, which requires you to make good decisions, you're probably going to want to be taxed as an S Corp. When you do that, you need to go on payroll. Because now instead of paying payroll taxes on all the income the business generates, you're only going to pay payroll taxes on your wage, meaning you need to take a wage. And when you're on payroll, the wage that you need to take is I'm going air quotes here for all you podcast listeners, is a reasonable wage, meaning what would it cost you to go hire somebody else to do it? Generally, like a rule of thumb, if you will, would be that you would pay half of your total, I'll say income for lack of a better word, half of your total income as wages and the other half as distributions. A wage being you run it through payroll. It shows up on your profit and loss as a business expense. A distribution being you transfer money from your business bank account to your personal bank account, which is probably how you're already paying yourself today. That doesn't get taxed. The payroll does in terms of payroll taxes. So now you're only paying payroll taxes on what you take as a wage instead of on all the net income of the business. And as your business gets bigger, it means you're paying more in payroll taxes. So it's even more important that you get taxed as an S Corp. There's another benefit of being taxed as an S Corp, just from the nerdy bookkeeping perspective, is that once you are on payroll, you get to actually see what you cost the business. And this is where there's so many people out there that are like, oh man, I make all this money. Am I like, maybe I do this much revenue and my profit's this, but it's not profit. It's a wage because they're not actually taking a wage. And A, they're paying way more in payroll taxes than they need to. But B, they're not actually measuring their most expensive employee, them. Right. And so if you don't know how much you cost the business, the minute you go to hire somebody else, that's going to really suck for your profit and loss statement because last time I checked, they're not going to work for free. Maybe I bet I could get my mom to work for free for me, but that's probably the only person. I think if I asked my wife to work for free for me, I'd be sleeping outside. I don't know anybody else that would want to come work for free for me. And it's important you don't work for free for yourself because if you do and you don't take a wage, you're going to go hire people and all of a sudden your business is going to get really expensive to run because the labor is no longer free. And soon you will be out of money and there won't be enough money left for you. So as you grow, especially early on, before, like as you're about to start hiring employees, make sure you're taxed as an S corp. Make sure you're on payroll so that you can see what it costs to hire somebody like you to do the job that you're doing. So you don't get blindsided when you start growing the business and start trying to hire people. Number 5. We ready for number 5, Keith?
Yeah. What's number 5?
Know that you are 2 different people. You are a CEO and you are an owner. We like to use the term owner operator a whole lot in the service industry. And even that is 2 separate words and they are 2 different people. We just smash them together like it's the same person. But owners don't have jobs. Owners don't get paychecks. Owners sit on a beach and get dividend checks and check in every once in a while to see what's going on. CEOs or operators have a job, get a paycheck, show up to work, do the thing, make the operating decisions. And those are different decisions than investment decisions. Owners make investments, CEOs operate. Here's the best example I can give. Keith, do you own any stock?
Some.
What? Give me a company that you own some stock in. Who are you making a bet on?
I mean, take a guess. Tesla.
Oh, I was gonna go Tesla too.
I know.
So you own some Tesla stock. When was the last time that Elon reached out to you and asked you to come in and move some batteries around? Are you kidding me? You're an owner and he's never asked you to come in?
Never.
It's a joke because owners don't fucking have a job. They never show up to work. There's no job. So when you're an owner, you just get capital gains and distributions. I doubt Tesla pays a dividend. They probably reinvest everything. I don't know. I don't own any Tesla. But when you're an owner, you don't have a job. You're sitting on a beach somewhere. You're just an investor with capital at risk. When you're a CEO, you have a job and you go to work and you get a paycheck. And so that kind of rolls back to the S Corp thing, which is you take a paycheck, you're on the profit and loss as an expense. There still needs to be money left over. There still needs to be money for the owner, so that either today you can take a vacation and the business is still making you money. So you can be on vacation, still making money. And someday you're going to want to maybe sell the business, but maybe you're just going to hire somebody else to run it. And you can still be the owner of it. And you can pay a CEO to run the business for you. And that CEO, again, is not going to work for free. They're going to demand a wage and probably a bonus structure. And you still can be an owner, just like Elon, who gets money to pay other people to run his business. So now Keith is an owner of that business too. So Keith gets money to have other people running the business that he owns. Keith owns Tesla. Incredible. And he never has to go to work. So I think it's just super important that we have that perspective on our business. It's just an investment. It's just a math investment. We just also happen to be the most important employee usually, but we don't need to be the most important employee forever. We can hire somebody else to run it and we can just be an owner. And we got to make sure that we get paid.
Savage, bro.
We get paid for both. We got to get paid for both. So there it is. Platta's 5 financial fundamentals. And it works because it rhymes. And if it rhymes, then it works all the times, Keith.
Oh, God. You're so smart. What are you dumb at?
I'm not that smart. I only came up with 5 things. If I was really smart, I'd probably have 6 or 7 or 8, So, man. I can't. So this was a joke I had that at the conference I was just at, because they had like a mind reader dude up there, and he could like remember all these things. He was freaking incredible. And so when I got up, I was like, yo, I can't read minds, but I can read a P&L. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
You know what I can't read, Keith? Music.
Did everybody start laughing when you said that?
I got some sympathy laughs for sure. I had some good. I'm up there talking about bookkeeping stuff, right? I got a razzle dazzle. I had a lot of jokes going on. I got good feedback about one guy. One guy like chimed in just on Facebook afterwards, and he's like, "My wife really likes these numbers, but I was really nervous about what you were going to talk about. Thank God, like for throwing some humor on top of it. Like,
yeah,
the whole time. I was like, that's good. You can't be too.
Oh, the husband wife teams were there.
Yep. There's some husband wife teams in there.
That's badass.
It was good. It was a good crowd. I think there was like 450 people in there.
Where were you at again?
It was CBF Live as a maid service convention down in Dallas.
Let me write that down.
It's a hell of an event. Debbie Sardone, she crushes it.
I've heard her name before.
Yeah. That was the first time they let me get on stage. I think they were worried about, some nerdy bookkeeper getting out there and being boring. But
no, man, you're not boring. You crush it.
Sometimes you just got to have some really shitty jokes. And then everybody's like, oh, he's cute. He's just a bookkeeper. He's trying hard to be funny. I think they laugh more about that than actually the joke itself, Like, oh, this guy's trying to be funny. That's cute.
So you're getting invited to speak at these events. You fly out, you speak, you blow people's minds and share knowledge and inspiration and a message. And then you probably pick up some new bookkeeper clients along the way too, right?
So this was the funny thing. Went out there, supposed to be Sean Day, and Sean Day is our recruiting director. And so he and I go to this one all the time. We know a ton of people in this group. And we have a ton of clients in this group. I'd say like they're probably of like all the places that we get clients from, I'd say they're not most of our clients, but they're the biggest group of our clients, if that makes sense. So maybe they're like 20% of our clients, but that would be like the biggest fraction, biggest percentage grouping of clients that we have. Maybe I'm just throwing, like, if you can imagine what I'm trying to say mathematically, just math. The problem though was Sean got stuck on his darn airplane trying to get out there, got the old deboarded, couldn't fly him out to the next day. He was already having to leave like a day early anyway to get back for some kiddo things. So I'm just like, dude, like by the time you got out here, you'd have to turn around, right? So I'm like, don't bother coming. I got this. The one thing about CBF Live that's different than a lot of other shows is they keep like everybody in that room and they go all day, and then they let them out in like 15-minute increments here and there to come see the vendors. And they only allow like 10 vendors. It's like there's one bookkeeper there, me. Like there's, I think we have 2 recruiting companies that are there. One of them's actually a coach in the group, so they allow more. But there's like one marketing company there, one Google review company there, one CRM there. So she's like super picky about who she lets come. So like whatever Debbie says, you do it, like you don't diss the Debster. But the problem is, so when they come out, like it, and the thing I like most about it actually is she appreciates the shit out of her vendors. And she's like, I only let these people come and I demand that you go talk to them. Because most trade shows are just like, yeah, and the vendors are over there like 3 stories away and they're all weird. So when you walk by them, like, make sure you don't make eye contact because they're going to try to sell you something. Right. And Debbie's like, all these vendors are here to help you and they're handpicked and tons of our people use them. So go talk to them so that they make your life easier. Like she, right. Which is the truth. But people are so scared to come and talk to vendors at trade shows. And Debbie literally is like, I give you 3 breaks a day to go talk to the vendors and you better get the most of it. Because especially if you go talk to certain ones like Dan, if he doesn't have Sean there, there's like 5 people waiting to talk. So you better catch him. You better catch him. But the problem was then too, when you have a whole shitload of clients somewhere, they also want to come talk to you. And I was like, Sean, I'll be fine. Like if a bunch of people come, I can talk to 5 people at once, which that part's true. But when an existing client wants to come talk to you, like they want to BS with you. Right. And I'm the BSer, like literally bookkeeping, beer and BS is my show. So they know I'm going to talk to them. And so for like 3 days straight, I couldn't disengage from a conversation. which I loved, but I probably didn't get the chance to talk to everybody that wanted to talk to me because every time they'd walk up, I'd be talking to somebody. So it is what it is. Next time I might have Sean, and then I might have like a backup person ready to go just in case.
Bro, for those of you listening right now, if you do want to get into a quick side note, you want to start a YouTube channel, or maybe you've got a talent or a skill you feel you've gotten good at and you want to share it with other people through a podcast, just be known when your name gets out there and now you got, hundreds, thousands of tens of thousands of maybe people paying attention. If you go to a live event, they're going to have all these things that they're going to want to say to you that they don't ever get to say because they're so busy listening to your ass talk all the time. They have some things they might want to say to you. So
yeah, they got to get it. They got to get it out.
Yeah, they want to talk to you and you want to talk to them, like-minded people. But when you go to a live event, just be aware if you're there for 12 hours, it's going to be 12 hours of straight. As soon as you're done with that person, boom, another person, boom. Like, you'll be lucky if you get to use a bathroom or to get a bite to eat. And by the time you go lay in your hotel room and you put your head down, you just go, oh my God. It's like, it feels like it's overwhelming if you, bro.
Mine always hits me. I go to a live event and I'm like engaged and fired up the whole time. And I'm like a beer drinking extrovert. So I'm pretty good about going to bed by midnight. That's kind of like my cutoff. And then I try to be in the gym by like 6 a.m. and get a run in before the show starts. Just like flop 3 miles on a treadmill. I mean, like it's the ugliest moving my feet along that I'll ever do. Cause usually I wait till the middle of the day to work out when my body's a little more awake, but you'll never have time to do that at a show. Got to do it right away in the morning. So I usually get up, get a jog in, and then do the show. And I'm pretty good about like staying fired up throughout the show because I feed off that energy. But the minute I get home, and this is always interesting with Marty, she's like, you're home, finally. Have one of these children or all three of them, and here's all the things I need you to do. And I'm like, I need a day. Like, I just need a day to like take a nap, wind down, like just a little peace and quiet because I've been going. But you get home and you're just like, oh,
punch out, and you go home and punch in.
Yeah. I literally, like yesterday I was up at 3 a.m. to catch a 6 a.m. flight, got home, and then we had like a full day planned. So
that's a lot, dude. You're doing a lot, bro.
Fighting fire with fire. You got to fight fire with
you're
fire.
saying if you're leaving, there's this trick. That it's not a trick. It's a technique. I don't know. Like, if I'm out running landscape jobs all day and deal with employees and customers nonstop, and I come home, if I park in the driveway coming home from work and I grab my phone and I jump out of the truck and I run right into the house, it's not good.
Yeah,
because I've still got 17 conversations going on in my head. I haven't actually taken a break. I still got my phone, and my wife might have a bunch of stuff she wants to say to me. And I was like, this trick I learned is I park in the driveway. I finish what I got to finish on my phone, and then I will put my phone down and I'll just, even if it's only a minute, but try to do like 5 minutes, and I'll just take a few deep breaths and close my eyes. Cause the cerebral cortex, the visual center of your brain is also so overwhelmed, like a computer processor that's just and overheated. So if you just close your eyes and relax, eyes closed, and just chill for a minute,
it goes a long way.
And then go in the house, but leave your phone out in the car or in the truck for like, just even if it's for the first hour, then you can get in the house and spend some time with your family and eat dinner and decompress. And then after you decompress, you can go back out and grab your phone. And that changed my whole life, bro. Cause I was an asshole. I used to just walk in the door all freaked out, and it was almost like I was bringing garbage into my house. I'm not saying this is you. I don't know where even this is coming from. I love talking to entrepreneurs and business owners. It was like bringing all that trash and just dumping it all over my front room floor. So
my wife, I heard this on the Meat Eater podcast, and now it's a term we use in our household. It was on Steve Rinello's podcast. He had like all the wives of all the main dudes on the show to do an episode of like what their life is like when your husband is this small business dude running all over the place. And they're outdoorsmen, so they're always on like hunting trips for weeks at a time. And so they were talking about what's it like when they leave and when they come back. And I think I used to do this, never intentionally, but now I really unintentionally don't do it. No, I intentionally don't do it, is what I meant to say. but you come home, and this happens after a long day of work, but when you're gone for like 4 or 5 days, it really happens, which is you come home and your immediate reaction is to like judge the way the house looks and make comments about this not being picked up or what's going on here. And you have a reaction to the state of the household. Like if toys are everywhere, or if food's laying out that hasn't been put away, or there's a sink full of dishes, your immediate reaction is to be like, what the hell did I just come home to? Because I was just at an event and everything was taken care of for me, and my room got cleaned for me for 4 straight days, and now I walk into this shithole, which is about the same shithole that I left. But of course your spouse doesn't want to hear that, because they're like, yo, I kept 3 kids alive while you were gone. Like, yeah, it is a disaster because nobody was here because you were gone and I had to do everything. And the goal was to like keep these kids alive and stop them from, like destroying people's property. And so mission accomplished. They might have destroyed our property, but hey, that's just fine. And so one of the people on the Meat Eater show said, you can't come home and piss on the post. Like, you need to give it 24 hours before you critique anything about the situation that the household is in. And I found myself yesterday, like, so I'm really intentional now, but when I come home, it's just like, did you guys have fun? Like, look, and I don't even say like, looks like there's a shitload of toys out. I'm just like, what'd you guys do? What were you playing with? What are we building over here? Like, you got Legos? What are we doing? And so I've had to be really intentional about not bringing the garbage in, because it's so easy to bring the garbage from your day or from a trip, and you're stressed out, and then you show up and you your first instinct is to act like everything should be in perfect order, that it was, that way when you left, which it probably wasn't. But I totally hear you, man. It's so easy to come in and just like download and shove a bunch of garbage on somebody.
That's amazing. I think for me, there's a bit of the opposite effect. And well, actually, I'm be careful what I say. Damn it. It's now every word that I say just digs me deeper.
Yeah.
So if I come home from being out of town, like traveling or speaking or something, when I come in the house, it's so clean. It's surgically clean. And my wife's just relaxed. And there's a candle lit. And you could like eat off the countertops. I feel strange stepping in my own home. It's like, Jesus.
Like, I don't want to get this thing dirty.
Yeah. And because I'm the one who's had to learn how to pick up after myself and make sure and everything that I do be accountable for. Like if I take a bite of some cottage cheese with the fork, make sure I rinse out the bowl and the fork and put it directly into the dishwasher.
You got some rules. You got rules.
Well, I think about this shit for years of me running start getting my business off the ground and growing it. My wife, she was doing the laundry and the dishes and doing all these things and putting out all this sacrifice for me. And now I've learned, like, I grew up around a bunch of men who, oh, that's just women. Women are crazy. Women do that. But as I've been married over 10 years now, I'm like, wait a second. I love and honor and respect, and I'm thankful my wife did all this for me. Let me say thank you by doing shit like put the toilet seat down. Well, actually, I have my own bathroom, but
so that toilet seat is up. Unless
I met your wife, man. She seems super organized. Like, she's got your back, dude, so much, man. And not a lot of entrepreneurs have that. And I saw this thing on Instagram. Like, one of the most important things is who you pick as a spouse.
It's frustrating when you meet somebody and you like want to hang out with them and their spouse sucks. It's like, oh damn, like, I want to hang out with you. I want to like you, but I don't want to be around your spouse. Like, how did you screw that up so bad? It's like the worst. It's frustrating. It's totally frustrating, but it makes or breaks. It's important. I mean, it is the most important relationship you have. I think you could pretty easily argue that.
So what's it like? We did this whole finance thing and now we're talking about this. What is it like?
Kind of what we do. It's what we do.
Being an entrepreneur who is obsessed with the same thing over and over and over, but it's an extremely important thing. Do you like have like a cutoff time, or where you just don't even think about any of that at all and you're just totally with your family?
I'm pretty good about – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – and as long as I'm like engaged in something, I can put work to the side. But if I'm not engaged in something, like your brain's always going to be working on something, especially if you're a small business owner, because you have unlimited number of problems. So your brain's always going to be working on something. And so I do have to, like, if we're sitting idle as a family, that drives me bonkers because I need to be doing something. And if we're sitting idle, then my phone's going to come out and I'm going to start solving some problems. Right. So I try to put ourselves in situations where we're not sitting idle, that we're doing an activity or we're doing something so that we can all be present, whether it's like playing a game or going and riding bikes or going for a jog, or like, I'd say the least active activity you could do is like watching a movie with your kids or something like that. But that's the hardest time where I'm like, oh, it better be a damn good movie or my phone might slip out of my pocket and I might start trying to solve a problem. But I'm usually pretty good about separating it when it's family time, as long as we got something interesting to be doing. Then I'll go back to work, and at night I intentionally have to consume non-business content. Like if I started listening to a business podcast or reading a book or whatever, I would never be able to fall asleep because my brain would just start firing and thinking about all the ways to do this and do that. And so I mentioned Meat Eater before. Like I'll watch a show of theirs or any other YouTube hunting show or fishing show or something where it's a story that I can, like, I hunt and fish all the time. So I'm watching a story play out just like you would read a fiction book. And I can put myself there, and I'm learning things watching different shows of like how to apply that to my own life and get better at the things I like to do as hobbies. But I have to be super intentional about checking out with a different activity that moves my brain to a totally different area. You could probably tell me what my brain is doing. I'm just like, I know I need to not think about business. For like last night, I jumped in to crank some bookkeeping workout for a client where I was like, let me jump in and take care of this thing for you. And that was like 2 hours before I went to bed, and man, and I'm like, no sleep. I'm exhausted. I couldn't fall asleep. My brain was just a fire, and it was like midnight before I fell asleep. So it's like dangerous if I do work too late into the night, because my brain says, woohoo. And I'm like, no. I want to get my 6 hours of sleep tonight. So I do think about it often, but as long as I got something else to preoccupy me with, I can check out for a bit.
It's amazing how we're hardwired, or we have conditioned ourselves to be wired towards survival, and then even beyond that, thriving. So it's like any second that's wasted, we perceive it as being wasted, because there really is a bucket with holes in it. It's constantly draining. If you don't keep that bucket and then plug the holes and go get another bucket, like we want to have silos and we want to have pipelines flowing so much that you can just literally vacate from it permanently, and you can't spend it in your whole lifetime. And that's even talking about it makes me finally just relax a little bit. We're in the most, but we have more abundance than anybody else in the history of the human race. And
and I feel like this happens in our businesses too. The more we have, the more we want, type of thing. There's a little bit of that going on. It's
100%.
It's like you get an inch and you want a mile.
I don't like to complain. I don't ever really complain on my content. Some people misinterpret what I'm doing as complaining, but I like to actually relate to people. But bro, I'm suffering. I want a house off the water, like a vacation home off the beach, but I know I can't buy it unless I have assets that pay for it. So every night I'm on Zillow looking at dream vacation homes. I'm looking at RVs. I'm looking at shit that I want. And I do this thing called the OCD loop, where the dopamine drips and I'm looking at the fancy cameras and the shit that I want. I'm like, nope, you can't have any unless you build the business to the point where that. And then it's like, I say, but when am I going to have fun? Sometime. I owed less in taxes. I oversaved. I got to, no. And it's like, I know a materialistic thing isn't going to make you happy, but damn it, a beach house would make me happy.
The thing doesn't make you happy. The experiences make you happy. And so I think money is a tool to gain experiences, right? Experiences are memorable. Nobody remembers the shirt that they wore unless there's like a picture of the event that you were at when you wore the shirt, right? Nobody remembers the purchase of the material good. They remember usually where they were, who they were with, and what they were doing. But what shoes you were wearing was never an element of that, unless you were like scuba diving. Then the shoes you wore probably mattered because you'd have flippers on. But you know what I mean? Like the event is what's important. So a beach house isn't about the house; it's about the damn beach, right?
Now, it's the experience of sitting with your toes in the sand with the sun on you, listening to the waves with your family.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe an hour ago, you just barbecued the best food ever. And maybe you got a beer in your hand, and maybe you.
Oh, you for sure have a beer in your hand. 100% chance.
And you were in a place of complete bliss, and you feel it, but you've worked your ass off for it, and you just feel like you deserve it, you know, and you totally let go.
And the things that you work the hardest for are the things that you appreciate the most, by far. I talk a lot about it on my podcast that, you know, working smarter is great, but working harder is the thing that you actually like appreciate the most, because you remember what you had to overcome to get the thing. Nobody ever like took a lot of pride in the shortcut. People take a lot of pride in the doing the hard thing, and pride is what fuels you. So when you work your ass off and like get something like a beach house or whatever it is, where there's a ton of pride in it, or even I look at our house here, and it's a decent house.
You got a nice ass house, bro. That pool in the backyard, that beautiful backyard.
There's a lot of pride in that pool because I spend so much time and like effort to make the pool nice. And we get 3 months. Like, there's a lot of work that goes into keeping that pool great for the family and great for the kids so they can all come over. We bought the house with the pool, so I can't even say it cost X. It does cost a decent amount of money to maintain it. But that's not, the money isn't the thing. It's like the opportunity to have family over all the time and hanging out and making memories and forgetting some of them, because usually I have a tall glass of tequila while I'm floating around in there. It's just such a cool way to like reward yourself for working hard. But I think like in our house, we bought it and we paid a general contractor to redo some things, and then we put our own spin on a few things and spent a lot of hours working on it. And when I'm telling people about the house, I don't tell them about we bought this and we bought that. I tell them about here's what was there, and then we tore this wall out, right? And we took that down, and there were nights when Marty and I were up here and we had a baby, but we were up here painting this and doing that, right? Working our asses off to try to make this house the way that it is. Like, we painted every wall in this house. It was brown sponge paint, Keith. This house was brown sponge paint when we bought it. Painted every freaking wall. Went through a lot of beers doing that. Holy moly. But so like there's pride in that thing, right? In that hard work. And yeah, we could have paid somebody to paint it there, but there'd be no pride and there'd be no story in. Yeah, and then we hired this guy to come and paint it. Now, a lot of that shit we do delegate to free ourselves up to go do other hard things and make other stories happen. This one we just decided to do ourselves, and it was great. But now we have like a story about how we changed the house. So anyway, hard work pays off. Create memories, experiences, beach houses.
Oh man, your personality is amazing because you're this like serious business dude with this raspy voice. What's up, guys? This is Dan Platta. That wasn't the best impersonation, and I like that microphone you got. It actually essentially accentuates the masculine alpha male raspiness.
I picked this microphone. I have a blue. I have this one that's like, think a blue Yeti here. I got one of these. And so like a lot of times I'm just recording my podcast or doing like Zoom meetings and stuff, I use that one because it's just easy. Or when I'm traveling, I bring that one. But I was like, Keith is going to appreciate this microphone a lot more, and he's going to appreciate that microphone. So I got all my shit out that you told me to get a long time ago, and there it is.
Sounds good, bro. And then, but I also like how you can talk about like personal stuff and metaphors and tell stories, and You're just the real deal, bro.
It's all about. Hey, we got to talk about some purgatories. Is what we got to talk about. We haven't talked about purgatories yet. We got some purgatory talk to do.
Let's do purgatories now.
I hit it a little bit when we were going over Platta's five financial fundamentals, which is that we need to like separate ourselves a little bit. We need to pay ourselves as an operator and pay ourselves as the owner. And the biggest reason is because the minute you go try to start hiring people, they're going to not work for free. You're going to have to pay them. And if you weren't paying yourself and you just thought you were making it rain, but you weren't an employee of the business, you don't actually know how much money you make. You don't know how much money is left for you, the owner, when you go pay a bunch of other people to do the work. So the first purgatory usually happens around like 200,000 in revenue, because it'll be us. And I won't get into the financials of it. I've got them all. I think at the huge convention this year, I'll give this like full blown presentation. This will be the teaser, and then you should get your ass to the huge convention in August. But what typically happens is you get to around 200,000 in revenue, and you can get there with like you and a helper. And it depends on the industry, right? And if you're just doing lawn mowing, maybe that's 100,000. If you're doing bigger landscaping projects, you can maybe even get it above that. If you're doing window cleaning, is right around 200,000. Pressure washing, maybe a little bit more, but you kind of get to like the you and a helper maxed out. And so, yeah, you might be paying them on the side. You might have them on payroll, but they're kind of part-time. But you hardly need any marketing, because you get a lot of word of mouth stuff. You don't need any infrastructure, because you can kind of run it out of your house. You don't really need a whole lot of admin staff. It's maybe you with Jill's office backing you up or something. And so your business is super profitable because it doesn't require a whole lot to make it happen behind the scenes. And you're more than 50% of the labor. Your helper is not equal to you. And especially if you're not paying yourself at this point, like you might be doing 200,000 in revenue and making like 100 or 150,000 bucks on this business. And you're like, dude, I'm crushing it. And here's where you get in trouble is you go, I'm doing 200,000 in revenue and I'm making 100,000 bucks. I'm going to go do 400,000 in revenue and make $200,000. Super logical, right? Well, I'm going to double the business. So I'm going to double the amount of money that I'm making. Except what tends to happen is we get to like $400,000 to $500,000 ish. And along the way, now like the somewhere around 500 to 600,000, we hit another like level of peace. But when we go from like 200 to 300, we hire another person for the field. And then usually we fire ourselves from the field and we're in the office, which is a brand new role that we were not paying for before. And especially if we weren't, this is especially where people get in trouble, is if they weren't taking a paycheck. And so their labor looked free. And now they move to the office and pay somebody to do that job. And they're paying, now they have like fully loaded costs on the truck. They have two guys out there doing the thing. None of that is done by them. And now they're only getting paid to be a secretary and a salesperson. And there's not a lot of money. And now maybe with those two dudes, you go rent a location, but now you got to do more marketing because you got to keep them busy and you need enough sales appointments to go do. And so you'll get to like $300,000. And I've seen it go so far as there's no money left. I've seen a $200,000 business that was making $100,000 turn into a $300,000 business that made $0, because growth is expensive, and every dollar of that revenue went out the door and then some to go get those employees and to get the infrastructure to try to keep growing. Now, you will see some people get to that purgatory and panic and go, F this, I'm getting back on the truck. And usually at this stage, you got those two guys out there, maybe three guys, and one of them sucks and the other one keeps calling in, and then you fire this guy and then that guy quit, and then you hire another one. And they can never do it as good as you do, right? Which is normal. They can't. That's okay. They don't need to. And then you panic and go backwards because you're like, screw this. I'm not making any money. These guys are assholes. They can't do it as good as I can do it, right? And so I got to get back out there and get on the truck and show them what's up. I can't afford to not be on the truck. And so you go backwards. The other alternative is to keep going forwards and get the second truck up and running, which now gives you enough runway to have more stuff to sell, which if you were paying yourself like a salesperson, you had 2 trucks you could fill up, the salesperson gets to make more money because they're selling more stuff. So now you actually get to pay yourself enough, which is why it's so important to actually like pay yourself for what you're doing, so you know if it's working or not. And now you got 2 trucks out there making you money, and now you can get up to 400 to 600,000, and you're in like a sweet spot. And maybe you've got 4 techs. And now maybe you've even got like a part-time office manager and you're just focused on sales and marketing type of stuff. And so you hit a sweet spot around there. And even though you just went through this, like this purgatory 1 in the 300,000-ish range, Keith, you've never had a baby before, you personally. At least I don't think you've personally had a baby like out of your vagina. But this is the thing I've heard from my wife, because I also haven't had a baby out of my vagina. But I have heard from my wife, and this is a thing with women's that have had the babies, is that like going into labor is the most painful thing. But you don't remember it. Like they kind of remember it, right? But if they truly remembered it, they would not submit themselves to that again. They'd be like, nope, not worth it. For this screaming little shit, I would have to go do all that again for this screaming little shit. Like, why would I want to go do that? But babies are so cute, and they don't remember how painful labor was. And so they sign up to do it again. My wife signed up to do it a 3rd time. We got 3 kids now. I don't know why she would have done that, because I ain't stopping. You pull that goalie. Let's play ball. So point being is, as business owners, we forget about the pain in the ass that going from 200 to 400,000 was. We forget about purgatory, where we doubled our revenue and our profit actually went backwards. Eventually we got to a sweet spot, and our profitability will be lower. We can look at that $200,000 business and like, oh yeah, they're making 50% profit. Not really, because they need to take a wage. They're probably making 25% profit. When you make it a $500,000 business, now it's making like 15 to 20% profit. So you give up some profit margin points. The dollars will be a little bit more, but the percentage profit will be a little bit lower. You'll be able to pay yourself a little bit bigger wage. You'll be doing more important things, but your percentage profit goes down. It goes down because you just bought freedom. You are generally, as a business owner, willing to give up some of your profit margin and some of your return, because the one thing that you can't make more of is time. And so making less money as a percent of the revenue is fine if it buys you more time. You're willing to give up some points. So now instead of like 25% net profit margin, you'll take a 15 or a 20, so that you can.
So how do you tie that back to the word purgatory?
So you're not in a purgatory here. You're in the sweet spot. You bought yourself some time. You bought yourself some freedom.
By purgatory, you mean cash flow purgatory?
Cash flow purgatory, but also just like not everything, not just cash flow. Everything is just in this like mud.
I got out of the field last year, and Keith Kalfas didn't make shit for money in his landscape business. Bro, I was used to climbing the ladder and the trees and trimming the shrubs and being on the job sites, paying myself a technician wage. And I got so burned out, I just hired a crew leader, and I paid them to go out every day while I sold the jobs and worked in the office and ran my internet business. And my profit was went straight down.
Yeah, there's nothing left, because you were right in there. You were like right in. You were in purgatory 1, where you got to decide if you're going to get it to 500,000, or if you're going to exit it or bring it back. Because you can't, if you stay in the $200,000 to $300,000 range with like a helper or 2 guys on the field, there's no money left. Your media business, you went right through it. But at the time, your media business was being paid for by your landscaping business. So you didn't feel it the same. Like now in your media business, you got like 20 people helping you. You got people all over the place.
I just hired my 16th. I have 16 virtual assistants in the media business, and I had, I don't know, my wife was helping with all the office stuff. Not all, but like the phones and scheduling. And then there's obviously Jill's office. And then I have 2 guys in the field, landscaping, doing the working.
Yeah.
So I got 2 businesses, but it was truly because of burning the candle at both ends for so long. I kept trying to do it all.
Mhm.
And now I like, if I want to go on a job site, I can and pay myself a technician's wage, but I can only do it in the field a couple days a week. And I got to get the hell out of there by 3 o'clock so I can be here on a podcast with you.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, I think that's like purgatory one, where a lot of people get stuck, is because you run out of time and you have to go backwards before you can go forwards. The faster you want to go forwards, the farther back financially you need to go. The faster you want to push through it, the more money you have to be willing to lose, because it's
Like
expensive.
a burn rate till you get to escape velocity.
Yeah, because like to really move to that next level, you need a second truck, you need a second set of equipment, you need to go through like 5 employees, because you're not going to hire the best 2 right away. You're for sure going to hire some shitty ones and have to replace them, train them and replace them, and train them and replace them.
Mm-hmm.
So it just gets expensive. And
if you're trying to do that shit out of your house and you got like, a family and you got all these knuckleheads coming and going from your house, and then your neighbors see it. It depends on where you live. If you like, say if you live in a house out in the rural area, it's fine. But it's like, so I did rent a storage unit for a while. Then I had a yard that I was renting spaces at, and that's a good option. I don't know where anybody here lives, but you want to move to an actual shop and pay that 3, 4, 5 grand a month. I don't know how big a shop someone would need, but that's where the big expenses start coming, right?
yeah, and that's where you're giving up profit margin. When you move to that $500,000 to $600,000 business, now you usually have a full-time office manager type of role. You took that hat off. Your admin costs jumped up because you need some people infrastructure, and you have more software needs. You can't just run it on paper anymore. Now you for sure need something like Jobber to run that business, and you need to rent a location because you don't want 5 guys coming to your house every morning.
I posted this funny comedic Jill's Office commercial we made. It's awesome. And some guy in the comments a couple of days ago on Facebook, he was like, dumbest thing ever. I answer all the calls in my landscape business and I close them. I'm crushing it. It's anybody who doesn't who lets someone else answer their calls is an idiot, because nobody can answer calls like me. But he was serious, as though he knew the end all, the be all. And because that's just where he was at, and he was in a motivated place. Good for him.
Yeah.
But like, he was saying it as if though, like, everybody else is stupid who has someone else answer their calls, and that was his truth, but as if that was the truth.
Yeah.
And it was so entertaining to watch this guy.
That it is funny because, I mean, we're fueled by ego, and like I said earlier, like
sometimes that's the best thing when you're in a certain spot of your business, to be that gung ho and stick to your beliefs.
Yeah, but and in a lot of jobs in our business, we are going to be the best, like, or we wouldn't be trying to run a business. Not everybody and not every job. The funny thing is, usually in that admin space, that's the one spot we're actually the worst on average. We suck at doing administrative shit, like remembering to bill everybody, remembering to send all the estimates out, remembering to get payroll entered on time. We suck as admins. We're terrible admins. And the stupid thing is, the admin is the lowest paying job in your company. So like, that's a scary job to be bragging about being good at, because you're bragging about being good at the most cost-effective thing for you to displace yourself in. Like the lowest.
Oh my God, you just dropped a straight up knowledge bomb right there, bro.
And I would say that's usually like one of the first things to delegate, and you should stay out in the field. You should hire a part-time office manager to do that, and you stay out in the field, because the person in the field is the most valuable role in your company until you hit purgatory 2, which is usually in like the $700,000 to $800,000 range.
Yeah, the person driving production, getting the jobs done quickly and efficiently, and getting to the next job. The difference between you getting 3 or 4 jobs done that day is the person, the driver in the field, making sure that let's go, let's make it to this next job. We'll get that shit done by 6.
Yep.
And if that's not you, and you got people that maybe aren't that driven, they might be like, oh, let's call it a day.
And they will. They sure as hell will. And so again, it kind of goes to like how fast you want to get through these levels. But when you get to purgatory number 2, it's usually because you're at 500 or 600,000, and you're like, hey, I'm making 15 to 20% net profit margin. Now, if I grow to, so I'm at 500,000, and let's say I'm making $150,000 in net income. I'm like, dude, if I get to $1 million, or maybe I'm making, that's not the right number. If I'm at 500,000, I'm making 100,000 of net income after taking a wage. And then I say, yo, if I get to $1 million, I'll be making 200,000. We make the same mistake that we did back when I was like, I'm doing 200,000 and making 100,000 bucks. So now if I do 400,000, I'll make 200,000 bucks. We do that exact same thing again, because like that was my analogy about being a pregnant lady, is they forget about how much pain and suffering they went through, so they have a baby again. We do the same thing as business owners. We forget how much that purgatory sucked, and we forget that our logic at the time was, hey, if I double, my profit will double. So we everybody wants to do this $1 million business thing, even though every $1 million business owner that you talk to is like, it sucks.
So what does it look like?
It sucks because you get to another purgatory on your way there. Sometimes depending on the industry, $1 million is like in the purgatory. A lot of times, like once you clip over $1 million, you get to a decent level. But usually it's somewhere around like 600 to 700,000 you hit a purgatory, and then a little over $1 million you hit another one. So the first one that you hit is because now you should have stayed out in the field, to what you just said, Keith. You should have stayed out in the field in production, and hired out the office staff, because they're better at that than you are, and you're usually not a great admin. But then you get to 600 to 700,000 and you need an operations manager because you got 3 trucks out there and you don't have time to oversee everything that's happening out in the field. And you need more sales and marketing to keep growing. And so now you need to be like full-time in the office, and your office manager kind of steps up and it has a little bit of a leadership role in the company. And you have a field manager that kind of steps up, and now you're leading leaders. And that is a whole different job than working on a truck or even running to a sales appointment. Now you need to help them be better leaders and managers, and that's really tricky. And so some people stall out here because it's dependent on you being able to not be an operator and you be more of a CEO, and that's a way different job.
It's like a death. You're changing the role that you play in your business, and it's an identity shift. It could be an identity crisis. Somebody could go into depression saying, what do you mean I can't be in the field power washing anymore at all? And I can't be in so people that can move and shift in between different roles and identities in their business. And so they must get clarity and have a vision of where they want their company to go, and stay connected to that vision and get some high level coaching, or at least get around other entrepreneurs who think that way.
Yep. Yeah. And it's tricky because as we grow our business, we keep firing ourselves from previous roles and getting ourselves into new positions. But at some point, we're going to like max out our current capability set, and we can stall out there, or we can read some books, talk to some people, go to some conventions, learn a bunch of stuff, and try to keep leveling up. And so you hit purgatory number 2, and now you really got to focus on like, what are the next marketing levers? Who are the next roles that I need in the company, right? It's not the obvious jobs. It's like, what role is going to get me the best ROI? Do I hire another admin person? Do I hire a couple salespeople? Do I go get a really good general manager to like run everything? So they're like, you get a bunch of new questions, and then you hit another sweet spot. Usually you hit a sweet spot around like 800,000 to 900,000 just before you get to $1 million, because your office manager is crushing it. And now you can afford to hire them some office help. And you have an operations person that's usually an employee of yours that stepped up and had some leadership skills, and you're like fully out of the field, and they're responsible for everything out in the field. And you're usually a salesperson, and you're leading a manager out in the field, and you're leading an office manager, and life is good. But we know what happens when life is good, which is we're like, I need to get to $1 million, Keith, because everybody says $1 million. Got to get to $1 million. And so now you add another truck, and now your operations manager, you just push them out of like their skill set, because before they were just a manager, but now they truly need to be a leader because they have like 8 employees reporting to them and like a team lead on each of these trucks, and like they're maxed out. And your office manager was fine with just like a helper, but now they have another person, or maybe a couple salespeople they're responsible for. And were you able to teach them how to be leaders, or are they just like managers that can oversee a system and a process? And so at $1 million, you start needing a leadership team, not a management team, but a leadership team. And it's not high level, but at $1 million, the amount of infrastructure you need and the software that you need for all of these roles and the marketing that you need to try to sustain it and the skill sets of these people. And God forbid if one leaves, because these people are going to leave too. And now did you train up their replacement? Or are you just like, oh shit, how do I go find an ops manager? Or how do I go find an office manager that knows how to run $1 million business? That's a hard person to just go find. Before you just trained them up and they were somebody you already knew because they've been working for you for a while. So you hit $1 million, you hit like purgatory level 3. And that's why whenever you talk to $1 million business owner, they're like, yeah, I made it to $1 million. And then a year later, they're like, yeah, I got to 1.1 million this year in our profit. This is exactly what happened in my business. We have a window cleaning and pressure washing business in Minneapolis. We did just over like 1 million. And I think we had an 11% net profit margin. And we got there from 700,000. So we made a pretty big jump, like not quite, well, yeah, like 50% profit or 50% revenue increase. Growth is expensive. So our profit margin went from like 15% to 11%. I think if we just would have stayed there, it would have come back to 15 or even more. Like if you stay there, you get more repeat clients that come back, things settle in, people get really good in their roles, but we don't like to stay there. So we pushed, we added a few things, we broke a few things, and we went from 1.1 million to like 1.2 million, and from 11% profit margin down to 6. Like we added $100,000 in revenue and we lost about $100,000 in profit. So go figure that out. Now we
6%.
We had some marketing that totally bombed. About $70,000 worth of marketing that totally bombed. So we lit $70,000 on fire. That was cool. So this year should be better. We had a massive workers' comp deal. We tried to launch high-rise window cleaning, which requires about $20,000 in liability insurance, and we didn't even do a $20,000 revenue job, right? But we're pushing, and growth is expensive. So we're in purgatory right around $1 million, and we went way backwards. Now this year, I think we'll do like 1.4 to 1.5, and we'll probably be at 17% profit margin, I think is how we budgeted out. Then again, last year we did 6 and I budgeted for like 12. So maybe my budgeting kind of sucks. But my point being is these purgatories are going to keep happening. They happen again after you get past the $1 million mark, because every time you grow to the next level, you take a new job and all of your leaders take a new job, and not everybody is meant to advance like that. And so you get to a point that the people you have or yourself aren't capable of taking on the next role. And so with us as the owner, usually it's not that we're going to fire ourselves, right, and go find somebody else. Maybe sometimes we should, but usually we're going to go get a mentor. We're going to go read a bunch of books. We're going to go to a bunch of conventions and try to meet people that have solved these problems so that we can learn what we need to learn to elevate ourselves to be able to go from 1 million to 2 million. Or what our office manager needs to know to get from 1 million to 2 million. Or maybe we need just a full-on general manager that's overseeing everybody, and we're just going to be the visionary. That's kind of where I'm at with bookkeeping. Janelle really runs all of bookkeeping, and I'm the visionary, and I'm here doing podcasts, and I'm going to shows and talking, but I'm out of the day-to-day. And we're at about that purgatory. So they're going to keep happening. And every time it happens, it just means there's an opportunity for you and your team to level up. And maybe you have the right people, and maybe you're the right person, or maybe not.
It's an opportunity for you and your team to level up. And leveling up is an entire other conversation.
It is. But the reason I like to talk about the purgatories is everybody likes to talk about, I'm a level 1 business. I'm a level 2. I'm a level 3. We like to talk about the spot where we get, not about the pain and suffering that we go through to get there, because that's the shit that sucks. And you're just looking at the people that are on the plateau in front of you and their life is good. And they forgot about how much having this baby of purgatory level 2 sucked or whatever it is. And so they might remember some of the lessons from it, but they're not in the mud that you're in. And they just talk about what running a level 2 or level 3 business is like. But nobody likes talking about the purgatory before you get there. Like the pain and suffering before you get to that level is what sucks.
Yeah, because
that's where we get stuck and get depressed.
Bro, because you said the most powerful thing of this entire show was it's not a negative thing. It's just a purgatory. You said you might do 200,000 and make 100,000, but then do 300,000 and make way less, like make nothing.
Mm-hmm. I've seen it happen. And usually, so this was really funny. At least this was funny for me. I don't think it was funny for everybody in the crowd, but when I was down at this home cleaning convention this last week, I said, hey, we got to choose the pace with which we want to grow. How fast, and I wasn't even giving the purgatory presentation, so I didn't tie this back to purgatories, but I will right now. I was talking about measuring marketing and trying to figure out how much you should spend on marketing. And I laid out a few questions, which is how fast do you want to grow? How risk averse are you? Like, can you afford to lose it all? And what's your tolerance for that risk? And then, do you have to make money now? Right? Or can you forego the making of money? So how fast do you want to grow? How risk averse are you? And do you need money right now? Were like the three questions I posed to everybody. And I gave an example. I have a client that went from like 140,000 to the next year, a little over $1 million, and the next year, a little over 2 million. And I said, how much money do you think that guy made? And everybody's like, he's raking it in, right? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, he lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, it's not a loss because it's an investment, but if you want to grow a $2 million business in 2 years, it's going to cost a lot of money. Like, he doesn't have a customer tree and an employee tree that he's shaking. He's spending a lot of money to find those, and he's spending a lot of money on the equipment and the assets to go out and do the thing and build the infrastructure to grow a multi-million-dollar business. Like, he blew through those purgatories, right? But it comes at a cost, just like it comes at a cost when you go from a $200,000 business making $100,000 to a $300,000 business, maybe making 30, because you're spending all of your money on these investments and they're not going to pay off right away. The marketing isn't going to pay off right away. The recruiting isn't going to pay off right away. The place you rent sure as hell ain't going to pay off right away. Rent takes forever to pay off. I don't know that it ever does, but it's like you need it. You need a bigger space. And you need people out of your house. So you're just making these investments to grow your revenue. And the more you invest, the faster you could possibly grow. You might spend $70,000 on marketing that doesn't work. And so you light that on fire, and that's a bad investment. And I think you all know that, but trying to get out of a purgatory, you take some shots. But so and he did too, right? He burned tons of marketing money down to try to figure out how to grow so fast. Now he had plenty of things that hit. You don't get to $2 million by accident, but how fast do you want to grow? He didn't need to make money yesterday. He financed a bunch of that growth, but now I like to say he might as well have went to med school. He spent hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, if he stays there, this is where it's hard for us as business owners, because now he wants a $4 million business, right? If he stays there and settles in for even a year and makes 15% profit margin, that's $300,000 that he makes, like of profit after he takes a salary of about 100. The business makes $300,000. He's damn near a doctor, right? He basically went to med school. Personally, he can make $400,000 this year if he just sits still. I don't think he will, because that's not his nature. But he chose to blow through these purgatories, right? And spend the money to blow through them and take all the chances.
I mean, it's risky, because if you go underwater a couple months and you don't have a fat credit line, or you can't pocket your way through that, I mean, you're done.
He had a lot of phone calls to banks and to finance companies to figure out how to support it. Right. So it is.
What is this? I'm not saying this guy, but to me, because I'm not that risky of a dude, that's crazy behavior.
I live vicariously through him. No, it's not like, but again, it's like, that's why I ask, how much do you want to grow? He wanted to grow like crazy. How risk averse are you? He's got a background like with hedge fund management. Like, he has lived in that world. So to him, this is just an investment game. How much money do you need when do you need it? He was just eating ramen. Like, dude sacrificed everything and said, I hardly need to make anything. I will go as long as it takes to not make money. And so that was the decision he made. Now he thought the marketing would convert better. And so he and I had like modeled it out together and said like, okay, here's where it needs to land for this thing to be profitable
at the right time and the time of season, depending on the
Yeah,
business.
yeah. And so like he didn't want to lose hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? That wasn't the goal. And so when we modeled it out, we expected a better return on investment for some of the marketing stuff. So it is, but it's just like putting money into Tesla. You might have a return on investment perspective that does not come true. And that's investment. And it's your own personal stock market. So like I said, he's got to decide if he wants to keep pushing or if he wants to like settle in where he's at and turn the profit machine on. But it's, different strokes for different folks. How fast you want to get through that purgatory? I recommend not staying in purgatory long, but I don't know that I recommend for everybody blowing through like 4 of them all at once. It gets pretty pricey, but you got to pick.
And I think about that. You guys help with creating budgets and all that stuff.
Yeah, that he and I meet every single month to work on his budget. Like we meet monthly to adjust it so that we're.
Should I get with you or with my bookkeeper you've assigned me to get together a basic budget?
Probably me.
Because I have but I'm obsessed with my finances, bro. The stuff you taught me changed my life, and I'm always looking. But my budget right now it's not something that's all on a spreadsheet mathematically perfect. I know that I have a certain cushion each month amount that I like to save. After I pay all my bills, pay down my lines of credit because I have no debt, and I put money in my IRA and save money. Then what's left over, I might spend or invest a little, but only after I've already done all that and saved.
Because you've been looking at that new camera that you want. You're just like, nope, can't buy it yet. Nope, can't.
No, I could go buy it right now, but I don't because I say, and each month I spread shit out. So I always, because I have a certain number that I like to keep, that makes me feel like I have a cushion.
Yeah.
This is a financial discipline thing. So, but I have a feeling now that I could be spending more on marketing and a little bit more on advice. And like, there's this branding expert right now. It's pretty pricey to hire this guy as a consultant. He'll go through in my entire brand, deep dive 6 weeks, him and I, and he coaches high level famous internet marketers. And this guy's going to, I just know it's going to be, the testimonials he has, their ROI goes through the roof because, he's doing deep dive psychological analysis on your customer base, your audience, and the avatar, and finding out the eclectic things of when they grew up and adding this to the shapes and symbols and patterns and color tones. And like, I know that part sounded like a little bullshitty because that's just me talking. I'm not saying I'm a bullshitter. I'm just saying, did you laugh because I was right?
No. Yeah. Well, yeah. Yes. Yeah. You nailed it. That was like, yeah, that's just Keith. You took their framework and started putting your spin on it. Be yourself with your microphone turned all the way up is what I heard.
Yeah. And I've also learned, I can't believe I'm saying, like, if I go tell like my wife some shit, I'll be like, hey, I'm thinking about hiring this consultant to do this thing. And I'm just talking about it. And I'll tell her the price. She goes, what? Why would you? And now it's like I just invested $3,000 about a month ago into a high level internet marketing consulting online course, and it comes with these coaching calls and everything. And this is about it's about messaging. It's about creating proprietary frameworks, structures, and the way that you communicate. Like you've got the 5 F's and all that stuff. It's about deep level dive stuff like that, and how to create messaging that when you speak, people are just like, oh my God, like I've never heard this in my life. I need to keep listening. This guy's identifying my problems and the solutions and enrolling people deeper into your content so you can help people. And it's like, I just knew that it was tough to cough up the money. I didn't want to do a payment plan. And every single day I've been consuming this content. I'm watching each video up to 8 times per video and now taking notes because I want this. This is like, I didn't want to invest the money, but I have a vision that's so strong that I'm investing in a vision that I must see come to reality in my life. And so I want to move faster and scale my business, but it's taking investing in deep skill sets, which I've been isolating myself away from people. I got people texting me saying, bro, like, is everything good? I'm like, everything's good. I just don't want to talk to anybody. I love doing my podcast, but I want to take my whole shit to the next level. Social media is totally saturated, and I want to come out like who the fuck is this guy?
Mm-hmm. Own it. I think you nailed it in there, talking about it as an investment, right? Because when you talk to your wife about it, she's hearing cost. And, but you're looking at it saying the return on this investment, right? If it was a cost, it wouldn't make you any money back. But you didn't spend that $3,000 because you like to support that guy. You spent that $3,000 because you think it's going to make you $300,000.
Oh, for sure.
And it has to, right? Like that's why you're putting that. So back to the purgatories. The reason you get into those purgatories is because you are making there's these trigger points that trigger a bunch of investments all at once. When you do that first purgatory, the investments are your second truck, more employees, which are really expensive to find and train, more marketing, maybe some administrative help, maybe a bookkeeper. You stack all these investments in a really short period of time. No shit, you're going to go backwards because you got to pay for all that stuff and it doesn't return you money tomorrow. Like the dude that went to $2 million, he made tons of investments. It doesn't make you money immediately. The investments need to be paid for. And so how fast can you make those investments and how much money are you willing to live without while those investments are working? And you can't just, to exactly what you're saying, you can't just like put money in and not do anything. You're listening to the damn videos 8 times and taking notes every time so you get the most out of that investment. If you just buy a truck, it's not going to do shit. You got to put that truck to work to get the investment to pay off, right? So all the purgatories are is a smash up of a bunch of investments. And the faster you want to get through them all, the more money it's going to take. I mean, there's obviously some.
I never talk about this, but I have to say this into the ether. I gotta verbalize this right now because I don't ever talk about this. And everybody has their own thing, and I fully support and I champion other people who chase their passions. I'm investing in something that can't be seen right now. Like I'm obsessed with this dude. Like, okay, cool. You got fucking 5 trucks and you drive $100,000 truck and you bought a big ass house with a huge pool in the backyard. Not your house because your pool's awesome, but you know what I mean? Like people, like when people can see signs of success or success indicators, they go, "Oh my god, the guy, he must be doing good. He must be doing. Look at it, he's buying all this shit." like dumbest fucking thing ever. That, but we still believe it. Like I don't care about any of that. Like, bro, I'm thinking like a knowledge. Imagine having now applied knowledge is real wisdom is when you're actually doing the shit. But imagine if you could speak words of encouragement that come from a place. I don't know if you just say the word encouragement and you've done a full thesis and study on encouragement and all the sources of encouragement and you've experienced encouragement and courage and where does it come from yourself, and you've met people who have gone from complete depression to courage and use that spirit of courage to turn their life around, hence inspired other people that turn their lives around. So you could just say the word courage, but the when you speak it, it resonates to where people become riveted and their eyes fill with tears because you just said the word courage from a place that was so much meaning, because you're dead fucking serious. Why are you smiling? You get this weird look in you.
I love when you just go on a Keith rant and just like you just get into it and you tie it all together. I'm just like, I always find it funny when I'm doing my show and I go on a rant and then I'm just like, oh yeah, like I'm supposed to be asking them questions, but hold the phone. I got something good. And I always reflect on it as like the show host is, I don't know. I just loved it. I loved it.
I've practiced a lot. Like I want to talk 20% of the time and let my guests do 80% of the talking. So if I start talking too much, I'm learning to stop myself.
So as a guest, as a podcast show host going on another person's podcast, I always like struggle to not, I go into like host mode. So like I didn't articulate this well before, but in my mind, all of a sudden I thought we were on my show, and I was, because now you're getting into it, and I was about to ask you like a follow-up question, like I was the one hosting the show, and it's a weird dynamic. It cracks me up.
That's good.
Courage. I love the courage.
Yes, sir. So anything else, man? I'm pretty, my cup's full.
Dude, I just love talking to you. I wish we did it more often. We should do it more. Book some time. Let's nerd out on your budget. Let's do it.
And we're going on an actual, I know I said this, but now that I am way more free than I've ever been in my life, I've got the money, the time, the transportation. We're going on another road trip. And so we'd like to come through Minnesota and grab some food and do an in-person podcast if you're down.
Oh, God, you know it. You know it.
Cool.
I'll never forget when you ran up the tree in my backyard. What's up, Keith? Good to see you. Check out this magnolia tree, man.
Yeah, I'm that type of dude. I will literally run up your tree. I should bring both sets of my climbing gear. Would you be willing to sign a waiver and climb?
I mean, I got my hunting climbing stuff, so I can get pretty far up a tree just with my bow hunting gear.
Oh, okay. That's good.
And climb some shit.
I'd love to climb some shit. Okay, guys, this has been Dan Platta on the Untrapped Podcast. If you want to learn more about bookkeeping services, it's yourblueskies.com/Kalfas, Kalfas, or just go to keithkalfas.com/resources and look for Your Blue Skies. And then what about the recruiting?
Just go to our website. You can yourblueskies.com/Kalfas. I think there'll be a button on there to book a recruiting demo as well. If it's not, just drop the Kalfas, click the button, but then in source, write Kalfas, so we know that you heard it here.
You know what you heard it here. If you're looking for employees recruiting, how can everybody find you and your show, Bookkeeping Beer and BS?
We're everywhere. Go check it out on the Facebook group. Go join the Facebook group because I interact there quite a bit. We got a YouTube channel, Bookkeeping Beer and BS, and then podcasts, everywhere podcasts are sold or free.
If you guys love the show, go to Apple, Spotify, leave the show a well-worded positive 5-star review, and it'll bump it up the rating so it can get to more people. And we'll see you on the next show. Peace.
Peace.